Hello everybody. Um, Today we're going to take a look at another standard Return to Ravnica um, standard deck, and this one's not. I mean, it's not competitive. You don't want to be taking this to a qualifier or something, but this might be fun for an F&M or just a little casual standard game, if there is such a thing as standard casual. And basically what this is just a combo deck. Not any infinite combo, but just basically a storm type of list, standard storm. So what we got here, what's important is Guttersnipe, Burn at the Stake, and Past in Flames to some extent. So basically there's two basic win conditions here. One is you resolve a Guttersnipe, and you just cast a bunch of spells. You just chain a shitload of instants and sorceries, dealing damage with that, and then using whatever kind of direct damage or hasted creatures, well, whatever way you can to kind of just sneak in that extra damage necessary to kill. So that's one way to win. And the other way is to make a bunch of little guys, like whether it be goblins or humans with Krenko's Command and Thatcher's Revolt, and get like 6 or 7 of those guys out there on the board at one time, preferably during one turn, and using Burn at the Stake to deal lethal damage to your opponent. Now it seems kind of iffy and sketchy right now, but I assure you that it works more often than not, like turn 4 or 5, and I'm not necessarily certain if turn 4 or 5 is too slow. And, I mean, it's possible it takes a lot. It'll take way more turns, maybe 6 or 7, but it's fun. Kind of comes out of nowhere, and it's very amusing. Just go through the card choices a little bit. So, and this is a thinking man's kind of deck because like basically you want all these spells to combo off of, but you need to know when to be able to cast Krenko's Command early so that you have an early blocker, and you need to know when that's a bad idea. Like if you're facing zombies or whatever, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not good. Sometimes it'll buy you an extra turn, sometimes it'll be messing up your combo. You'll need to know when to save Thatcher Revolt to hit a planeswalker or whatever, or you'll need to know when to if you should use Battle Hymn early to get 2 mana off of these goblins, or if you should use it later when you got more creatures out, etc, etc. You'll need to know what to dump with Faithless Looting. So there's really a lot of cognitive things going on here. You really got to think, put your mind towards seeing what kind of options you have, and it's really fun. I mean, it's just really fun. So before we go into a game, we'll look at the cards, and I'll explain the sideboard a little bit. It's not very, like I said, I mean, you're going to win some games, you're not going to win all of them, but it is indeed, it's very fun. So we got Guttersnipe, 4 of, you need him. And if one of these hits the board and is not hit by spot removal, it's a big swing in your favor. So play 4 of this guy. Also play 4 of Goblin Electromancers, and in your main board, these are your only creatures. Well, they're not your only creatures, but these are only your creature spells. Goblin Electromancer is so strong, makes your instants and sorceries cost 1 less, and because we're playing spells that cost like 2 to 3 mana, the ramp is like you're basically on turn 5. You're with the Goblin Electromancer in play. You're doing things that would require you to have 9 or 10 mana on board, and that is a big jump. For ramp, we have Battle Hymn and Infernal Plunge, and both of these require you to have creatures on the board. Battle Hymn adds 1 mana, red mana for every creature you control, and Infernal Plunge, you sack a creature and you add 3 red. Now, that, in order to have creatures, we have the 8 up here, but we also have 8 other cards that give us that, and that's Thatcher Revolt and Krenko's Command. So Krenko's gives us 2 goblins, Thatcher's gives us 3 humans, but they're sacrificed at the end of, or at the beginning of your end step. So these are basically just instant or sorcerer instant things that just really need to, you have to make use of them for the mana as soon as you drop them, unless they're gonna chump block or swing in for 3, or swing in as hasted attackers. The deck also has 2 Past in Flames. Back in the day when I was younger, Yawgmoth's Will is my favorite card, and I used it to great effect with black and blue and green. But nowadays we got this Past in Flames, which is slightly more expensive, but it has flashback. You'll probably only see yourself casting it once, whether it's from the graveyard or from your hand, because if you are gonna play things from your graveyard, chances are you're going off that turn. So it's a good card. It has a good synergy with another card in our deck, which is Faithless Looting. And Faithless Looting helps smooth out our draws, dig deeper for answers, dig deeper for Past in Flames, and it's basically, it's almost free. Burn at the Stake is our other win condition, like I was saying earlier. I've put 3 Mizzium Mortars in the main board. There are other options. I just like the versatility. Sometimes you just want to hit a creature for 4, and then sometimes you just need to overload it to sweep a board to stabilize. And it does a good job of doing that, because whether you use it for a spot removal or for a sweeper, you're going to be able to flash it back later in the game to help build damage with Guttersnipe or help combo off, or a sink for your mana. So it's a nice option. And lastly, we have Reforge the Soul, which is basically Wheel of Fortune. Everything in this deck is cheap to play. Everything. So, chances are, if you don't draw into your combo fast enough, you're going to be dumping a lot of your hand. This helps you refill that hand, get more combo pieces, and hopefully go off. And then we play one Epic Experiment in here as a real late game answer. If you Epic Experiment for 5, you should be able. For 5, you should be able to play everything in your deck. So hopefully drawing 5 cards, you draw some nice shit, and you're able to go off on it. So that's one choice. Clearly, after game 1, most decks in Standard have Graveyard Hate in their sideboard, so they'll be able to deal with they'll be able to deal with your Yawgmoths or your Past in Flames or your combo. So what I think is, if you win a game 1 and they're playing colors that you think they might be playing Graveyard Hate to stop your combo, then you transform your deck into a more just like straight red deck wins kind of aggro-ish kind of deck. However, if they're playing control and you don't think they're going to side in Graveyard Hate, and you think they're just going to go with counter spells or whatever, then maybe you just side in a Nivmagus and Negates. So we'll go through this sideboard really quickly. We have a Niv-Mizzet. They're legendary. I'm only playing 1 just because I really don't know what direction I'm really going to go with the sideboard, but I'm just playing 1 and 2 Negates. Those are for the control matchup or long drawn out games with control. Adding Negates to ensure your stuff goes off. Niv-Mizzet to be like a late game bomb, draw you more cards. We have 4 Ash Zealots. These are there for aggro. When you expect Graveyard Hate against mid-range decks, you throw in the Ash Zealot because you no longer want to play cards that recur things from your graveyard. So this is a good card here. You play Nivmagus Elemental because remember, we're not going to use Past in Flames. We're totally foregoing the graveyard recursion and we're just trying to beat the face. So Nivmagus Elemental, it's still being tested, and I think it might be pretty good, so we'll see how it goes. And then lastly, Searing Spear, just for more direct damage and spot removal. So against aggro, you're basically siding in 12, you're taking out 12. The 12 I'd probably take out would be Past in Flames and Epic Experiment, leaves you 9 more cards. I'd probably take out Reforge the Soul, leaves you 6 more cards. And then from that point, I don't know, you gotta decide on your own. Probably Infernal Plunge, maybe Burn at the Stake, maybe one Thatcher's Revolt, or a Battle Hum. It's up to you. You really gotta see, because you really you don't need this mana ramp anymore. Everything else in your hand you can cast fairly quickly, but you need to maintain draw. So that's the deck. Keep an eye for the next few videos, and we'll test it out and see how it does.